Jayvardy.
Jayvardy.
This Jayvardy.
Jayvardy. Thank you, Jayvardy.
Jayvardy.
Jayvardy. Oh, Jayvardy. Oh my gosh.
Hello everyone, I'm Jayvardy and welcome to this video and welcome to my once a year time where I upload random wrestling videos, usually WrestleMania fantasy cards or WrestleMania previews or what I'm thinking heading in towards WrestleMania and all that. It's funny, it seems like every September I get the urge to upload wrestling videos for the last couple of years, and we'll get to that in a second. But welcome to this video. There's a few topics that we're going to get to, but I am Jayvardy, and I doubt I have anyone left from the YWC days or the original YWC days, Internet Wrestling Community days, but or YouTube Wrestling Community days to be more specific. But back in like 2009 through maybe even earlier than 2009, maybe it was like 2008 that I started, but it was like 2008 or 2009 through like 2011, I would say. I used to upload wrestling videos all the time. People ask me, how do you have nearly 800 subscribers and you have barely any videos? Well, that's just because I got over 1,000 YouTube subscribers all the way back then, but over the years, because of people deleting their accounts or accounts becoming deactivated or just unsubscribing because I didn't upload videos for like a decade or longer than a decade, I'm down to where I'm at now. But if you look at my subscribers and you're wondering like, why does he have nearly 800 subscribers but he has barely any videos up? That's why, because I used to upload videos way back in the day, starting in around 2008 or 2009, mostly as part of the YouTube wrestling community. But unfortunately, I deleted those videos a long time ago. This is before YouTube allowed you to. Well, it's not that YouTube is allowing archiving videos now. There was never been an option to archive it, but what I do now when I don't like videos, instead of just deleting them, I just put them to unlisted or to private. And I never thought to do that, but there was a time where, because of existential crisis related things, I removed all my YouTube videos, which is something that I regret now. And this wasn't recent. Like, I probably removed all my videos like 10 years ago. And that's something that I regret doing. Like I said, I wish I still had all those videos up, or I wish I put them all to private and they were still there and still existed. But unfortunately, YouTube, once a video is deleted, they do not have any type of recovery. So there's no way to recover them. They don't have any kind of recovery support or recovery options. I wish they did, because if they did, I would have all my old videos reinstated, but that's neither here nor there. Let's start with discussing what the topics of this video is going to be. I'm going to quickly give my WrestlePalooza predictions, and then mainly I'm going to talk about the WWE Championship scene and who I would have holding each championship heading into WrestleMania 42. I also recorded a new WrestleMania 42 fantasy card. I did a WrestleMania 42 fantasy card a few months ago, towards closer to the beginning of the year, but I did, or like close after WrestleMania 41, but in terms of the wrestling year, it was after WrestleMania 41, so like it was early after WrestleMania 41, but I did a new one tonight. It's up on my channel now. It's called WrestleMania 42 Fantasy Card 18 Matches in 10 Minutes. So check that out. I did an 18 match fantasy card, 9 matches for night 1, 9 matches for night 2, and you can see them all in 10 minutes. I'm going to actually attach that video in its entirety to this video, so you can just stick around in this video to see that fantasy card. But if you just want to see the fantasy card and you don't want to hear the rest of the rambling going on in this video, you can go on my channel and you can watch the fantasy card. It's only 10 minutes long, but you'll see the 18 matches that I fantasy booked for WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. It's a really good card in my opinion, and a realistic card too. It's not a card filled with, you know, a bunch of matches that are unrealistic to happen. I would say almost every single one is either extremely realistic or fairly realistic. I don't think there's a single match on the card that is impossible for WWE to put together. Let's just say that. So, but in this video, I want to discuss who I would have going into WrestleMania as champions, because in that video, not all the champions in that video are currently holding those championships. So this video is going to be discussing who I will have holding every single championship in the WWE heading into WrestleMania 42. But before that, I want to do a WrestlePalooza predictions. This video is going live the day of WrestlePalooza. So, you know, I don't know how many people are going to see it before WrestlePalooza, but we'll see how many of them I get right. I actually am planning to watch WrestlePalooza. I have not watched a WWE show since SummerSlam. Not a single WWE show I've watched since SummerSlam, but that's neither here nor there either. I want to quickly talk about something before I go into the WrestlePalooza prediction. So the big thing with WrestlePalooza, or at least the big thing from my perspective, is AJ Lee returned to WWE. And I did see the return segment that AJ Lee did. It was cool to see AJ Lee back and all. I think the way they handled the return was a little bit strange, and I thought the entire segment was handled a little bit strangely, but it didn't really surprise me how they did it, because the WWE writers of today and Triple H as head of creative, they don't really have the greatest writing ability or directing ability. Like, everything is super basic with them, and a lot of things don't really make sense when you analyze it. AJ Lee and Becky Lynch's behavior through that entire segment made almost no sense, but it was cool to see AJ Lee back. But here you have a bunch of screenshots of videos that I currently have up on my channel that you can go and verify, because I have booked this match for over a year now, and longer than that, because it's been longer than that in my head, but officially on YouTube, you can see I uploaded a video September 6, 2024, WrestleMania 41 card. You can see it in two different photos on this slide. In the middle, it has the date. To the left in the bottom corner, you can see that it's on my channel. 1 year ago, September 6, 2024. In the right corner, you can see that I booked this match for SummerSlam, and a SummerSlam dream card I did that I uploaded on May 17th, 2025. You can see in the top right corner, I did a WrestleMania 41 fantasy card in less than 3 minutes. That one got over 1,000 views. January 6, 2025 is when I uploaded it. And you can see in the thumbnail the match that I had on the thumbnail for that WrestleMania 41 fantasy card. It was CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I have been booking this match for over a year, and in my head longer than that. And like it's showing here, I had this match pegged for WrestleMania 41. And, you know, where we didn't get it at WrestleMania 41, then I had it at SummerSlam. We didn't get it at SummerSlam. And now we're finally getting it at WrestlePalooza. And I'm happy to be getting this match, because this is one of my ultimate dream matches, is CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. My only thing is they waited too long. They waited too long to bring AJ back. And I don't think her return has had the impact that it could have had they done it for either a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. Like, my idea originally was, remember how Paul Heyman owed CM Punk a favor heading into WrestleMania? My idea was you would have Becky and Seth team up like they have been now against CM Punk, but heading into WrestleMania last year, and then Paul Heyman's favor to Punk would be that he brought AJ Lee back into WWE to be Punk's partner to take on Seth and Becky. I honestly thought that was the way to bring AJ back. That's not what we got. Instead, we got a stupid and pointless triple threat match between Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. I hated that match when it was announced. I didn't like that match when it happened. I hated that it was the main event. But let's not go backwards, let's go forwards. I'm happy that this match is finally taking place, but the reason I wanted to show this is because I have been booking this match for WrestleMania and SummerSlam for over a year, and we didn't get it at either, but we're finally getting it now. I am grateful we're getting it now. I think it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a great moment at least. I think AJ and Becky are obviously going to steal the show because at this point, CM Punk and Seth Rollins has nothing else to offer one another except the wives. The wives are the only things keeping this match interesting at this point because Seth and Rollins have gone literally as far as they can go. And yet after WrestlePalooza, I do think they will have one more match because we're getting into the championship scene in a bit. But I just wanted to show all this before I go to WrestlePalooza predictions. Okay, so officially for WrestlePalooza today, we have 5 matches. The 5 matches are good. I'm not a fan of the 5-match pay-per-view or PLE format. There needs to be, in my opinion, 6 matches minimum for standard PLEs, 7 matches maximum for standard PLEs, while for SummerSlams and WrestleManias, they need to have 7 matches minimum per night and 9 matches maximum per night. I think even for WrestleMania and SummerSlam, 10 matches, which there have been WrestleManias in my time as a wrestling fan that did have 10 matches or more in nights. I've seen WrestleManias with 12 matches in a night. I think 10 and above is too much. I think 9 is okay. I think 8 is almost perfect. But for a standard PLE, there should be 6 matches minimum, 7 max. Where for SummerSlams and WrestleManias, it should be 7 per night minimum, 9 per night maximum. But I'm sick of the 5-match format. The 5-match format sucks for a lot of reasons, and I don't want to rant about that too much here, but I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it because, one, every single match ends up being like 20 to 25 minutes, and not every match needs to be 20 to 25 minutes. It also sucks because less wrestlers get on cards, and PLEs are, in large parts, are meant to show off the wrestling skills of your wrestlers. And when you only have 5 matches on a card, you're not getting some of your best actual wrestling talent on these wrestling shows, which is what PLEs primarily are, is you're watching matches. So they need to drop the 5-match format. I'm not a fan of it, never have been. It's played out and it needs to go. But let's predict these 5 matches anyways. We'll start with Punk and AJ versus Seth and Becky. Why not? Punk and AJ are going to win, obviously. It's probably going to be either a double finish where AJ and Punk both pin and or submit Seth and Becky at the same time. They'll do some sort of weird finish where they both defeat the other team at the same time. Or they will have AJ get the win over Becky. I don't think the match ends with Punk getting the win over Rollins. I would be shocked if Seth and Becky win this match. If they do win this match, it's a sign that they're going to want to play this back again and have this tag team match again, which I don't think is a crazy bad idea, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Punk and AJ are like 90% likely to win, but if Seth and Becky win, don't be surprised when they book this match again for either, Raw down the road or like another PLE coming up soon. Whatever their next big PLE after this one is. But my prediction is Punk and AJ get the win. The Usos versus Breakker and Reed. Breakker and Reed probably win this because Jimmy and Roman defeated Breakker and Reed at SummerSlam. I think Breakker and Reed need the victory badly here. If they don't win this match, they're pretty much buried at this point. So you're going to have to go Breakker and Reed over the Usos. That's the logical thing to do, and I'm predicting Breakker and Reed will get the win. Cena and Lesnar, I think Lesnar gets the win, and I will explain why I think Lesnar gets the win. What I would do here is it'll be Triple H's booking is so random. There's been no hints of this dropped, but I think John Cena's last match should be against Dominik Mysterio for the Intercontinental title because one, Cena's never won the Intercontinental title before. Two, you want to have Cena and Dominik work together before Cena's gone and it no longer is possible. So why not just have more random Triple H booking and have Dominik screw Cena out of this victory to get Lesnar the win? And then that leads to Cena taking on Dominik at John Cena's last match in December, where Cena will finally win the Intercontinental title and become a Grand Slam champion. So my prediction is Lesnar with Dominik Mysterio screwing John Cena over, so that can lead to Cena and Dominik. Io Sky is Stephanie Valkyrie. I am not a fan of this being a world title match. I don't think Stephanie Valkyrie is ready. She needs to establish herself more in WWE before she becomes world champion. I'm not a fan of wrestlers winning world titles in their first year in the company unless they're super special. And I'm not saying that Stephanie Valkyrie isn't special, but I do think she needs to establish herself more in WWE before she becomes a world champion. So for that reason alone, I think Io Sky should get the win. But I'm also done with having two women's world championships. There should not be two women's world championships. We currently right now have 5 titles in the women's division, and I actually think that's a bad thing for a few reasons, but I will say this. You can have big women's matches without championships on the line. In fact, having big women's matches without titles on the line is what makes them truly legit. Because look at this. You have John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. There's no title on the line in that match. It's just a big time match. So why can't we start having big time women's matches without championships being on the line? Championships in a lot of ways can cheapen matches because, you know, it almost takes over the meaning of the match, and sometimes that's a bad thing. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar doesn't need a title on the line, and there's a lot of big women's matches that don't need titles on the line either. I'm done with the 2 women's world titles. They need to unify those belts and have only 1 women's world championship. You don't need 5 titles in that division. 4 is more than enough. So, but for this, because I think Stephanie Valkyrie needs to establish herself a bit more, I'm predicting Io Sky. Io Sky should get the win here. I'm going to go Io Sky. As for Cody and Drew, this one's kind of a toss-up for me. I don't think Cody's going to lose, but they kind of need to get the belt off of him. I don't think he should be champion heading into WrestleMania, but, you know, we'll see what happens. I don't think a 3rd WrestleMania, or a 4th technically, a 4th WrestleMania in a row with Cody Rhodes in the WWE title picture is what's ideal. They need to get the belt off Cody. Drew could win it. He's not who I would have holding the WWE title heading into WrestleMania, though. We'll see what they do. I'm torn on this one because I think Cody's going to beat Drew, but I think Cody needs to lose the title sooner rather than later. I don't know. I won't be shocked if Drew wins, but I'm going to predict Cody. So my predictions are Punk and AJ, Reed and Breakker, Lesnar, Io Sky, and Cody. Those are my 5 predictions for WrestlePalooza. We'll see how many of them I get right. Okay, this video is going on too long as it is, so I'm going to really kind of rush through this. I don't have images for every single championship, so bear with me. I do have it written down. You're just going to have to listen to the audio, but you can see who 3 of the champions are right here. But let's go through how I would have the title scene heading into WrestleMania, and then you can watch my WrestleMania 42 card right after this. So, the women's tag team champions are currently Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. I would have them drop those titles to Racquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. I do not like how Charlotte and Alexa are kind of just thrown together as a tag team to be tag team champions because they had nothing else for either of them to do as solo competitors. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are main event women's talent. They are above the tag team titles. And you can have the tag team titles be a main event title, that's fine. But there are more better and interesting things to do with Charlotte and Alexa. Charlotte should be working with younger women and putting them over like she did with Tiffany at WrestleMania last year. And Alexa Bliss really should be part of the Wyatt Six and probably leading them. Alexa should probably be the leader or co-leader of the Wyatts with Uncle Howdy. But yeah, I would have Charlotte and Alexa drop those titles to Racquel and Roxanne, and Racquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez would be the women's tag team champions heading into WrestleMania. And Charlotte and Alexa will both be doing bigger and better things. Now, for the women's US title, I have Giulia holding the US title into WrestleMania. But I wrote down that I would be fine with her losing the title to someone and then winning it back before WrestleMania. I do have her carrying it into WrestleMania, so she can either continue to carry it all the way to WrestleMania, or I would be fine with her dropping it to maybe Chelsea Green or Mishin or someone else in the mid card of SmackDown's women's division, but then she would win it back before WrestleMania. You can go either way there, but I do have Giulia being the US champion heading into WrestleMania. With the women's Intercontinental title, it's the same thing, but I definitely do see a drop before. I do have Becky Lynch holding the women's Intercontinental title heading into WrestleMania, but on the way to WrestleMania, after WrestlePalooza, she will lose the Intercontinental title to AJ Lee, but she will win it back and she will be the Intercontinental Champion heading into WrestleMania. I have a really cool storyline idea for AJ Lee heading into WrestleMania season. I think she wins the Intercontinental title, then she loses it back to Becky, and she kind of takes some time off here. And then my idea is you have Liv Morgan come back, right, to take on Racquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, but she needs a tag team partner. And what I thought would be really cool is, what if Liv Morgan went to CM Punk to ask him if AJ Lee could be her partner to take on Racquel and Roxanne, and Punk says, "My wife would never team with you," blah blah blah. And then you can do something really cool where you film a vignette of Liv Morgan going to Punk and AJ's house and kidnapping her or something, and then forcing her to be her tag team partner. And you can have a couple weeks scenario where CM Punk's trying to track them down and stuff. Let's make wrestling fun again, and let's actually bring storylines back into wrestling, please. Enough of this generic nonsense that we have going on. Wrestling is supposed to be crazy, over the top, and really super dramatic, and it hasn't been that in forever, and it needs to come back. But the women's Intercontinental title I would have be Becky Lynch heading into WrestleMania. The US title, I would have Sami Zayn lose to Dominik Mysterio, and I know Dominik Mysterio is the Intercontinental Champion right now, but we'll get to that in a second. But the men's US title, I would have go from Sami Zayn to Dominik Mysterio, and Dominik would be the US Champion heading into WrestleMania. As for the Intercontinental title, I have Dominik Mysterio losing it to John Cena in John Cena's last match. John Cena becomes a Grand Slam champion. He finally wins the Intercontinental title. He defeats Dominik Mysterio at his last match in December to win the IC title. Maybe Rey Mysterio gets involved to help John Cena beat Dom. And then after Cena retires and the title becomes vacant, you can have a battle royal between former Intercontinental champions and have Sheamus be allowed to enter said battle royal. And it looks like he's going to win and finally win his Intercontinental title. But then Drew McIntyre wins at the last second. Drew McIntyre becomes the Intercontinental champion. And then from January until WrestleMania, you can have Sheamus trying to chase Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental title. And they finally collide at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. Sheamus' career on the line, and Sheamus will finally win the Intercontinental title for the first time at WrestleMania after being inspired by Cena's first WrestleMania win, or first Intercontinental title win. I mean, not first WrestleMania win. He's had tons of those. But Sheamus would be inspired by Cena's first Intercontinental title win, and he would finally get it over one of his best friends in reality, Drew McIntyre, at WrestleMania. But I would have Drew McIntyre holding the IC title heading into WrestleMania. As for the World Tag Team titles, I would have it go to the New Day, Kofi and Xavier. I don't know how you get there. There's a middle that needs to happen here. Right now it's Finn, Balor, and JD McDonagh. They lose to question mark. I don't know who they lose to, but they lose to someone. And then the New Day wins the tag team titles from them, and they are the World Tag Team Champions heading into WrestleMania. As for the WWE Tag Team Championships, I would have the Wyatt Six lose to Penta and Rey Fenix, thus setting up one of my WrestleMania fantasy matches, Rey Fenix and Penta, the WWE Tag Team Champions, versus the World Tag Team Champions Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, the New Day, with both titles on the line. In my fantasy video, I forgot to mention that I see that match being a tag team or a tornado tag team street fight with Big E Langston as the special guest referee. I mentioned Big E being the special ref in the fantasy video, but I forgot to mention it being a tag team tornado street fight. But I would have the New Day as the World Tag Team Champions and Penta and Rey Fenix as the WWE Tag Team Champions, and then the titles get unified at WrestleMania. There are too many titles in WWE. Two of them that need to be unified immediately are the men's tag team titles. You do not need two separate men's tag team champions. That's ridiculous. It's one division. I don't care that there is Raw and SmackDown. It's one division. Have one champions. So they need to unify those titles, and they need to unify them at WrestleMania. And they really need to unify the Women's World Championships as well. And we're going to get to that in a second. And then eventually they need to also unify the two men's world titles. But as for now, the women's world titles need to be unified and the men's tag team titles need to be unified. Both of those as soon as possible, please. As for the WWE women's title, I would have Tiffany Stratton hold it all the way to WrestleMania. Have her have one of those really long, epic reigns. I know people are getting a little sick and tired of her already, but I would keep going with this, and I would keep that title on her heading into WrestleMania. And in fact, at the Royal Rumble, I would have her face the Women's World Champion, which will be Io Sky or Rhea Ripley, one of the two. Probably Io Sky. If you have Io Sky win at WrestlePalooza, you're gonna have Io Sky go to the Royal Rumble, and at the Royal Rumble, you have Tiffany and Io to unify the women's world titles, so the winner of the women's Royal Rumble faces the winner of that undisputed women's championship. I would have Tiffany beat Io to unify the WWE women's and women's world titles to create the undisputed women's champion, and then I would have Jade Cargill win the Royal Rumble. And I know this feud has kind of been going on a while and they've had matches already, but at this point Tiffany Stratton's now undisputed champion. Jade Cargill's the Royal Rumble winner. Jade has failed to beat Tiffany all year long. Their conclusion happens at WrestleMania. Tiffany as the undisputed Women's World Champion versus Jade Cargill for the undisputed Women's World Championship after Jade Cargill wins the Royal Rumble. The World Heavyweight title, I would have CM Punk be the champion, and this is really easy. You have Seth Rollins face CM Punk in like the last match of 2025 in the Raw main event or something like that. Or you could have them wrestle at Survivor Series for the world title. Whatever you do, like they need to end the Punk Rollins feud, and it ends with CM Punk beating Rollins for the World Heavyweight title, and then Punk carries that world title all the way to WrestleMania. And as for the WWE Championship, I would have Cody lose to Jey Uso. I would have Jey turn heel, and I would have him win the WWE Championship from Cody Rhodes. I don't know when you do that, but I would have that happen, and I would have that happen before the end of the year. I think both Punk should beat Rollins for the world title before the end of 2025, and I think Jey should beat Cody for the WWE title before the end of 2025. To summarize one last time, and then we'll go into the WrestleMania fantasy card. My women's tag team champions heading into WrestleMania, Racquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez. My women's U.S. champion is Giulia. My women's intercontinental champion is Becky Lynch. My men's U.S. champion is Dominik Mysterio. My men's intercontinental champion is Drew McIntyre. My World Tag Team Champions are the New Day. My WWE Tag Team Champions are Rey Fenix and Penta, and those titles get unified at WrestleMania. My Women's World Champion and WWE Women's World Champion, the undisputed Women's World Champion, is Tiffany Stratton after she defeats Io Sky at the Royal Rumble to unify the titles. I have CM Punk as the World Heavyweight Champion heading into WrestleMania, and I have Jey Uso as the WWE Champion heading into WrestleMania. That being said, enjoy my WrestleMania fantasy card. Thank you so much for watching this video. Talk to you later. Hello everyone, this is my WrestleMania 42 fantasy card for WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. This card that I put together has 18 matches, 9 matches on night 1, 9 matches on night 2. It features 9 championship matches and 9 matches where no title is on the line, but there's lots of story, and they are big time grudge matches between 2 stars with a lot of story between them. Let's get started with night 1. Kicking off WrestleMania 42 will be a United States Championship match between Dominik Mysterio and Rey Mysterio, father versus son for the United States Championship. The next match will be a big-time heavy-hitting match between Jacob Fatu and Gunther. The next match will be a big-time women's match in the mid-card with no title on the line between Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. 2 of the biggest women's wrestlers alive today, 2 of the biggest women's wrestlers of all time, collide at WrestleMania, Bianca versus Charlotte. We have a tag team match to unify the 2 men's tag team titles in WWE. To unify the WWE Tag Team Championships and the World Tag Team Championships. We have Rey Fenix and Penta versus the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, with Big E as the special guest referee. The WWE and World Tag Team titles are unified to create an undisputed men's tag team champions, the New Day versus Penta and Rey Fenix. Here's a really fun one. We're hearing rumors of AJ Styles being on his way out of WWE, and we're hearing rumors of Chris Jericho being in his way to WWE. What if Chris Jericho returns to WWE by going to TNA, and what if AJ Styles leaves WWE by going to TNA, and we can have the first ever TNA World Championship match at WrestleMania. The first time ever the TNA title will be on the line at WrestleMania. Chris Jericho winning the TNA title and defending it for the very first time at WrestleMania versus AJ Styles. AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho for the TNA World Championship. Here we have a 6-man tag team match because you need some breather matches on WrestleMania cards. But not only breather matches, but matches where new talent gets a chance to show what they can do on WrestleMania and get a big-time WrestleMania victory. So we have a 6-man tag where The Miz and R-Truth reunite and they team up with Angelo Dawkins after a Street Profits breakup to take on Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and Montez Ford. And of course, Hayes, Williams, and Ford will get the victory at WrestleMania. Let's make history by having the WWE title defended for the first time at WrestleMania in a fatal 4-way. Even better, let's make history by having the WWE title on the line in a ladder match for the first time in WrestleMania history. And let's make even more history on top of that, where we have 4 members of the original bloodline colliding for the WWE Championship. Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, and who I have as the WWE Champion heading into WrestleMania, Jey Uso, a fatal 4-way match between these bloodline members. The original bloodline collides in a ladder match for the WWE title. Jey Uso defends against his brother Jimmy, his brother Solo, and of course, Sami Zayn. Here's a big-time match, Brock Lesnar versus Braun Breaker. This one's obvious. This match needs to happen at WrestleMania. You can have Paul Heyman in Braun Breaker's corner. And what I thought would be a really, really cool finish to this match What if Braun Breaker took Lesnar to Spear City instead of Suplex City, then hit Lesnar with an F5, and if that's not good enough, imagine this. Braun Breaker goes to the top rope and hits a shooting star press on Brock Lesnar. This obviously is a reference all the way back to WrestleMania 19, one of Brock Lesnar's most famous moments in his professional wrestling career. Brock Lesnar failed to hit the shooting star at WrestleMania 19, but at WrestleMania 42, Braun Breaker will hit the shooting star, and he will use it to defeat Brock Lesnar in a big-time collision. The main event of night 1 of WrestleMania 42, I have the Women's Undisputed Championship on the line, as Tiffany Stratton will win the Women's World Championship and unify those two titles. So there is one world title for the women. She will do that at the Royal Rumble when she defeats Io Sky for the World Championship. And then she will defend the undisputed Women's World Championship against the Royal Rumble winner, Jade Cargill. Yes, they've had matches already this year, but Tiffany will become undisputed champion by this time, and Jade will win the Royal Rumble, and they will have their final collision at WrestleMania 42 for the undisputed Women's World Championship. Then we head into night 2. Opening up WrestleMania 42, night 2, is the Intercontinental title. Drew McIntyre defends against Sheamus. Sheamus's career is on the line. If he fails to win the Intercontinental title, he must leave WWE forever. History will be made. Sheamus will either win his first ever Intercontinental title at WrestleMania and finally closing that story in his career, or his career is over. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental title. We have an 8-woman ladder match with the United States and Intercontinental titles on the line. Not winning both titles at the same time. Think WrestleMania 40 when you had the 2 sets of men's tag team titles hanging from the top and you had 2 different winners of the match. That's the style I'm thinking here. But you have Becky Lynch defending her title, Giulia defending her title against Bayley, Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Michin, and Stephanie Vaquer. 8 women, 2 titles on the line, a big time ladder match for WrestleMania 42 Night 2. You have LA Knight versus Joe Hendry. And I'm thinking Joe Hendry will be a heel at this point. He will turn heel when he goes into WWE, and you have LA Knight versus Joe Hendry at WrestleMania 42. This match is 16 years in the making, maybe longer than that, depending, 17 years in the making, 18 years in the making. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton in a match nearly 20 years in the making. They've wrestled this year, earlier in this year, but at this point, this will be a grudge match. Randy will turn heel before this WrestleMania. He will cost Cody Rhodes the WWE Championship at some point, and they will collide at WrestleMania with no title on the line. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, nearly 20 years in the making. Here's a really cool mixed tag team match. You have the Terror Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, taking on Uncle Howdy and Alexa Bliss, who will of course join the Wyatts at this point. Uncle Howdy and Alexa Bliss versus Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, with their souls on the line. If Priest and Ripley lose, their souls belongs to Uncle Howdy and Alexa Bliss, and they will essentially be forced to join the Wyatts. You have another career match here, Asuka versus Kairi Sane. If Asuka fails to win her first ever WrestleMania victory, she must retire. She faces off against her tag team partner, a much younger competitor, a woman that knows her better than anyone, and if Asuka fails to get her first victory at WrestleMania, she must retire. Asuka versus Kairi Sane. This match is 15 years in the making. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, with a steel chair being legal. Everything else is illegal, but it's a steel chair match, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Do we need to say any more? A big time match, 15 years in the making. You have the women's tag team titles on the line, Roxanne Perez and Racquel Rodriguez versus AJ Lee and Liv Morgan. I think Liv Morgan, when she returns, teaming up with AJ Lee, that could make for some really, really interesting TV. Roxanne and Racquel versus Liv Morgan and AJ Lee. And the main event of WrestleMania 42, Punk versus Paul. Two outsiders, the world title on the line, CM Punk versus the Royal Rumble winner, Logan Paul.